Hey everybody, welcome back to Biblical Seekers. Today, we're going to go over what the statue found in Daniel chapter 2 represents. It's time to seek the truth. Okay, let's get started by going to Daniel chapter 2, verses 32 through 35. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. So who or what is this statue? And what is this rock cut out without hands? Well, let's go over to Daniel chapter 2, verses 37 through 38. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beast of the field, and the fowls of the heaven, hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So we can clearly see that this king being spoken of here is King Nebuchadnezzar, and we can verify this in Daniel chapter 2, verse 28. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. Okay, so with this being said, the head of gold is being represented by King Nebuchadnezzar. And what kingdom did King Nebuchadnezzar rule? Babylon, which we know reigned from the year 605 to 539 BC. So now that we know that Babylon is this head of gold, let's go to Daniel chapter 2, verse 39. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So this verse states that after Babylon falls, another kingdom would arise. But what kingdom was this? Well, let's go to Daniel chapter 5, verses 25 through 28. And this is the writing that was written, Mene, Mene, Tekel Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom, and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balance, and art found wanting. Paris, thy kingdom is divided, and given to the Medes and the Persians. Okay, so with that being said, the kingdom that would conquer Babylon was the Medes and the Persians, making them the chest and arms of silver. And they reigned from the year 539 to 331 BC. Now, let's get some insight on the third kingdom by going back to Daniel chapter 2, verse 39. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So here we can see that there would be a third kingdom. But who is this kingdom of brass? So to understand this, we must figure out who the next king is by taking a look at a vision Daniel had about a ram and a goat. Let's go to Daniel chapter 8, verses 5 through 7. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power, And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. So here we have a goat that strikes a ram and overpowers him. But what does this ram and goat represent? Well, let's go to Daniel chapter 8, verses 20 through 21. The ram which thou sawest, having two horns, are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. So what the Bible was actually telling us was that the ram, the Medes and the Persians, was going to be conquered by the goat, which is Greece. So with that being said, the belly and thighs of brass must be Greece, which would reign from 331 to 168 BC. So what about the legs of iron and the feet of iron and clay, which we saw in Daniel chapter 2 verse 33? His legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Well, on June 22nd of 168 BC, Greece was defeated by the Iron Monarchy of Rome at the Battle of Pydna, and Rome reigned from 168 to 476 AD, making Rome the legs of iron. Now, let's have a look at Daniel chapter 2, verses 41 and 42. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. You see, in 476 AD, Rome was divided into 10 tribes: the Ostrogoths, Visigoths, Franks, Vandals, Alemannians, Sueves, Anglo-Saxons, Heruli, Lombards, and Burgundians. But 3 of these tribes were later completely destroyed, as the Bible describes them as being plucked up or uprooted. But next, the scripture prophesies a rock would strike this image upon its feet and break them into pieces, as it states in Daniel chapter 2, verse 34 and 35. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. You see, there is this rock that will destroy this entire image. But what is this rock? Well, let's go over some scriptures.
He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved. And he said, The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. The Lord liveth, and blessed be my rock, and exalted be the God of the rock of my salvation.
And did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ.
You see, this rock is the second coming of Jesus Christ, because Christ is the rock, which shall also bring forth the 7 last plagues as described in Revelation, and it is his kingdom which will have an everlasting dominion. Here, let's take a look at Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So, you see, God will establish his kingdom, which will be an everlasting kingdom, a kingdom of glory and righteousness, where there will be no more wicked men to rule over us, but a just and righteous God. But who shall live in the everlasting kingdom? Well, let's take a look at Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. So the saints of the Most High shall possess this kingdom. But who are the saints? Well, let's take a look at Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. So this kingdom belongs to God and his saints. And his saints are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And always remember to study to show thyself approved, and let the Bible interpret itself.